Turbo. Hello, my name is Chris, and today I'll be teaching you how to set up and use multiple files in your Turbo project. When your file gets huge, breaking it up into multiple files will help you navigate your project, which will help you make games fast. In order to follow along on the video, you're going to want to have Turbo already installed on your computer. We have the resources for Mac and Windows should you need it. You'll also want to have your document structured based off of the Rust SDK getting started. For this video, I use an empty init and go. Lastly, I have the face fin included in the description, so make sure to check that out. Let's just jump into this Turbo tool. We'll need the coding software you use opened up. I use Visual Studio Code. Lib.rs gets created naturally from init, so we need to create our other files, Player.rs and Screen.rs. We can do that by doing this. We can pull out the little sidebar right here, and we can go over into our src of our file, and we can right click it. I'm using control click because I'm on a Mac, and I can do a new file. I'm going to make Player.rs, and I'm going to make new file Screen.rs. So those are my two other files here. I'm going to flip back into the Player.rs. If you're concerned about what your lib.rs looks like, don't worry, we'll come back to it and we'll add everything in from Player.rs and Screen.rs that we need. So let's jump into what Player.rs will look like. I'm going to copy and paste my Player.rs right here. This file is just a struct at the end of the day with some fields to store the player's data. The important part of this entire document is up here, the use crate line. Without that, we would just be returning errors from the document, so don't forget it. Now let's take a look at our Screen.rs. I want to stress again, if you forget to use this crate line up here, you'll run into issues. So use crate allows you to pull everything from your root file, which is lib.rs, so you don't have to individually put in crates, which can be rather annoying. So let's save this one, and let's go back and save the player one, which I should have done earlier, and then let's add this all into our lib.rs. So I'm going to update my lib.rs right here and tie everything back into it. So I'm going to save it now after updating it, and it looks like it populates and loads. So I have a title screen. If I click start here, it pops me over into my level scene, which is just a hero, which is the name of my player. He's level 1, he has some EXP, and I drew the level. It looks like everything's working here, so let's do a quick recap on all of this and jump a little bit more in depth into what is going on. Let's look at our first step here, which is our Player.rs. In Player.rs, we have our use crate at the top of the document, which allows us to use anything that we have public in lib.rs. In this instance, that's really just things like the derive line here. If I didn't have use crate, I wouldn't be able to use this derive. I'd have to call in different crates and whatnot in order to make that work, which would be a pain. So, and it would return a lot of errors. So make sure that you have the use crate. Now, step 2 is going to be to step over into our Screen.rs over here. If we go into the Screen.rs, we're actually using some of the player struct to display their stats. Now, I believe I do this on line 42 here. And you might be asking, why is this important? Well, as you make games, you're going to be splitting things into different files. You might have certain fields that need to interact with each other across those files. In this instance, I want to display the player's EXP and health and level. So in order to do that, I need to reference the state.player.name or the state.player.exp and so on. This is the exact same way you would reference it if it was a single file. Since we initialize it in the game state there, that's why we can call it with the state.player, and we don't need to directly call it at the top with use crate, kind of like how we do in our lib.rs, which step 3 is going to be talking about our lib.rs, which is linking everything together in our root file. The way screen and player are initialized right here in the game state is no different than how you would do it if it was one file. The go loop remains simple and clean down here. It's just a match screen, and then a state machine, which this is honestly just a carbon copy of my state machine tutorial, so you can check that out if you want a little bit more in-depth run of like what's happening when I click the space bar. The main thing to focus on here is at the very top. So what all of this means here is we add the module player. So what that does is it tells our Turbo to look for something called player, whether it's a folder or a file, and then the use case scenario here allows us to use everything in that file that it finds. Same thing for screen here. Now, if I didn't use, then I would have to reference things directly, which can be annoying. I like doing this because it looks exactly how I would set something up or use it as if it was one document. And that's really all there is to it. Now that we made a game using multiple files, I want you guys to expand on this. One thing I wanted to do was turn this all into a template that I could use for future projects as I finish my current project and move on to the next. So I challenge anyone watching this video to try and integrate using multiple files into their current project or make a template for a new project. And if you're still not convinced on why this might be a good idea, let me show you an example of why you might want to split things up using my project, Hanger. Here is Hanger, my own personal project. Now, Hanger is over 7,000 lines of code. And while it might compile and run, it takes me a long time to scroll to any part of my project to edit things. Want to get to the state machine? Gotta go all the way up here. Want to add a new function? Gotta go all the way down here. Want to add something to the player info? I need to go all the way to the top of the document. You can see how just flipping to a new file, like if I wanted to go into player, I just go right over here. If I want to go into my state machine, then I can just go right over here. You can see how that could be a lot more efficient than trying to scroll through all of this. It's just a lot at the end of the day, and you can really cut down some time. Normally I would show a good example, but here with Hanger, I kind of have a bad example for you. That is what I have for you today, my fellow nerds. Thanks for watching. Give me some feedback on my current style. If you'd like me to change anything, I'd be happy to. Want some more in-depth dives? Let me know. Want to cover specific subjects? Let me know what those subjects are. If you think Hanger's 7,000 lines of code is an abomination that should be wiped from the planet, let me know. Every day I'm learning and getting better at using Rust and Turbo, and my goal is to help new users get a foothold. So join our Discord, get involved with our community. We'd love to see what you're working on. If this video helped you, leave us a like, it helps us. Leave me a comment with anything. I want to know, I want to engage. Also, guys, check out the merch store. Today I'm wearing the Bone hoodie. So I love this one personally. This one's my favorite one. And we sell more than just clothes. Turbo.